Welcome to another episode of the Daring to Transcend podcast. I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We have a special guest all the way from Phoenix, Arizona today, and I can't wait to introduce you to Emily McMahon. Today, I am so excited to welcome Emily McMahon to the Daring to Transcend podcast. Emily is a seasoned marketing professional with over 15 years of experience, bringing a wealth of expertise to the table. She resides in sunny Phoenix, and she's not just a VP of marketing, she's also a proud dog mom, contrary to me, who is a proud cat mom. With a passion for driving effective strategies and leading high-performance teams, Emily is currently on the lookout for her next role in the marketing landscape. So welcome, Emily. I'm really happy that you joined us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be on the podcast.
Well, you and I have kind of gotten to know each other a little via LinkedIn and some of our shared challenges, shall we say, with Bravery. But I love how you are, marketing yourself. I mean, you're certainly showing your marketing expertise by how you're interacting and you're putting yourself out there on LinkedIn. So tell me about your journey into marketing.
Yeah, it is kind of a funny one because I felt like I got my start in my career a little bit later in life. I didn't get my college degree until I was 32. But I started working in marketing prior to that because I had an interest in writing. And so I teamed up with a local company here in Arizona that did kind of spa and salon advocacy. So I would get free products sent to me and I would write about it. And I just thought it was like the coolest gig ever, right? I wasn't even getting paid to write these articles, but I was getting free massages and going to cool events. And it was kind of like influencer marketing before influencers were a thing, right? And so I kind of slowly started to transition from working more of a sales job into a marketing role. And so that company hired me to be their marketing coordinator. And then I became a marketing manager and kind of the rest is history from there. And I realized that I really loved like the creative strategy side of marketing. And as I began to grow, I realized that I really loved being a leader and being a positive force in any organization that I go to. And so I then kind of honed my leadership skills and started asking for promotions, and it kind of just snowballed from there. I don't know how I did it, but here I am.
I love that. And I love that you say you asked for promotions because, I talked to a lot of HR professionals and they say even now, even with all of the thought leadership out there about, women need to start asking for what they want and stuff like that, that they're still not doing that. I was the one who always asked for promotions, so I'm with you on that. But why do you think women don't ask for them? And why are you doing it?
First, I think having a really good leader is a part of that equation. When I was at StoreQuest Self-Storage, I was the director of marketing there. I was under this just incredible VP of marketing. I truly, I tell her all the time, we still text occasionally, and that was years ago, that she was really kind of the turning point in my career. So when I realized that, that's when I wanted to be a really good leader and help my teams grow. I think a part of leadership that gets lost quite frequently is developing your team, because we get so much in the strategy and nitty gritty and we're trying to make money and we're trying to do this and do that and get blogs out and just, it's like a whole thing. But when you actually sit down, you're like, okay, I'm a leader of this department and these employees are underneath my care. And what I care about most is humanity and helping them grow. So, I had that amazing boss that did that for me. And so I've then turned into that boss. And so I will sit down with my team and talk about where do you want to be in a year? What kind of title do you want? What do you want your pay to look like? What are you doing that you love doing? What are you doing that you hate doing? And then we go from there and we move forward. I don't know why women are not asking for promotions. I think sometimes, I think the same rule applies for when we're negotiating salary. Most women don't negotiate their salary. And I think it's more of okay, well, I've got the job or I've got the role. I don't want to make waves in the organization. Well, I'm a wave maker. Like, what are they going to do? Say no, fire me? Like, I mean, I have been laid off twice in the past 2 years, so I don't know. But yeah, I think it's just about having the audacity and the courage. I mean, when I asked for my first promotion, I cried. Like, I was so nervous. I left the meeting and I went to the bathroom and I just started bawling because of how stressful it was. But it got easier, the more that you do it. And so what I did was I did a ton of research prior to asking. I asked for my original job description. I went line by line in my job description and wrote down everything that I had accomplished and like what the outcome was. And then I had an entire 3-page Word document of things I was doing above and beyond that job description. And so when you bring the data to the company, they can't say no. And if they do, they know that they're doing the wrong thing, right? So, yeah. So the last time that I asked for a promotion and it didn't go well was not with that manager. She had left. And that's when I ended up leaving that company. And like, that's really, if they're not going to promote you, then it's time to move on, sadly. So you just have to know when it's time to push and when it's time to pull and when it's time to kind of sizzle and chill for a little while and when it's time to leave.
Yeah. And I think that is a really important point, because timing is really critical in all of this. I know when I asked for promotions, I remember the first time, and I didn't ask specifically for, I want, this specific job. I just said to my boss's boss, he was saying, okay, well, where do you want to go in your career? And I said, well, eventually I'd like to have, Terry was my boss at the time, Terry's job or an equivalent. Like, I don't want anything to happen to Terry. So it wasn't that I was specifically saying, hey, I want a job and a specific promotion and I want it now. I was just saying, hey, when the opportunity comes up, this is what I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in advancing. I think that can be a really palatable way to bridge that gap rather than to say, I want this and I want it now. I mean, that just puts pressure on people. And I think women are really well equipped to ask for things in that way, right? In a conciliatory way, in a way that says, hey, this is what I'm interested in. I'm not going to back you into a corner right now.
Yeah, it's about making your intentions known and then working toward that. So before I asked for my first promotion, I sent a letter to my boss and a letter. Oh my gosh, what year is it? I sent an email to my boss, sent an internal memo to my boss and said, look, like, I really want to get a raise and a promotion. Like, what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation about it. And that's when she's like, I think you're already there. Why don't you let me know like what you're thinking? And that's when I put together that whole document, not because I felt like I needed to, but I felt like it was the right thing to do in the practice to then ask for an even bigger promotion later on, which I did. So yeah, it's really just about like getting prepared and being prepared to leave if that's, you're not, getting what you want. So if you go to your boss and you're like, hey, I want a promotion, what do I need to do to get there? And there's, a 20 line item list of things and skills you need to develop, that you're not ready and that you have something to work towards. So that's still a good thing as well. But if you go to your boss and they're like, oh yeah, cool, you're there, you're definitely there, but like we don't have the budget or we're not in a position to promote you, you then have to kind of go back and go, okay, like what's my next career move? Because loyalty it's a thing of the past, I feel almost, which I hate to even say, but like I am the most loyal person you'll ever meet. Like I was with StoreQuest for 4 years and I only left because there was nowhere to go from there. So, when you think about loyalty, you have to remain loyal to yourself as well. And sometimes that means getting a little bit uncomfortable, which definitely the past 2 years of my career have been very uncomfortable. But, I'm maintaining that positivity and knowing that that right role is out there at that company that's going to be perfect for me. So yeah, it's really all in your attitude and just preparation.
Yeah. So there's about 5 things you just said that I want to pull apart. But let's go back to the whole preparation thing. I love that you put together, your job description and, everything that, you did to meet that as well as exceed that. I think that's really important for 2 reasons. I'm guessing, and you correct me if I'm wrong. One is, yes, it's a good document, obviously, to put in front of your company and your boss and anybody who's interested to say, hey, this is what I'm really doing. Because sometimes people get busy and they don't even, they don't even really, I don't say that they won't know, but, they don't necessarily get the full impact of it. But the second thing is I bet that gave you a lot of confidence in saying, wow.
It did. Yeah. When I looked at it, I was like, I have 3 full pages front and back of things that I've been doing completely above and beyond my job description. Like, I'm doing the job of 3 people. You have to promote me. Like, I need more money. And then when I told her that, she just laughed. But yeah, I mean, when you can prove your worth with data and you have it, like it gives you a lot more confidence moving forward. So that's always my advice to anybody. I have a couple of mentees that have asked me, like, how did you get promoted? Like, what did you do? And I'm like, I worked my butt off. Like, I worked really, really hard and I proved my worth, and I was able, I kept track of all my data. I was able to quantify what I was doing. And that's really important. And any advice I would give to any woman really would be like, track all of your wins, no matter how small you think they are. Like,
yeah, no. And I, when I work with my clients, I say that as well. I mean, because it's so often that we don't really pay attention to all the things that we're doing and all the things that we're succeeding at. And we don't remember them sometimes. And especially as women, we're like, okay, well, yeah, that wasn't that big a deal. Well, yeah, maybe it was. Right? And when you're keeping track of that, maybe any one of those things isn't a big deal, but when you put them all together, they definitely are. So then the second thing I wanted to dive into with what you said was being willing to leave, being willing to walk away. I know loyalty is an interesting game these days, and everybody will say, well, companies aren't loyal to their employees anymore, so we don't deserve, and all of those things. I think there's a difference when someone says, no, you not now for a promotion versus saying, well, not ever. And obviously most times they're not going to say not ever, but you can read between the lines when it's a not now, or it's going to be a really long time. How do you read between those lines? How do you discern what's the time to leave and what's not?
I think the difference between not now and never is made very clear in like their body language and tone of voice. I think like you have to be really perceptive of the things that they're saying to you. So for me, I realized like my boss that I loved left, and I realized that they were trying to cut my department in half, basically. And they were not willing to let me lead the department at that point in time. And they made that very, very clear. And so I really thought like my intuition basically was like, it's time to leave, basically. So I would say definitely use your intuition. If it is going to be very clear, and every situation is going to be different. So the not now, which has happened to me in my career, was, hey, like, we really like you, here are the 10 things that you need to work on in order to kind of get to this next level. Like, they're going to make that action plan really clear. If they don't give you a clear action plan, then it's probably a never, and it could be just not a good like professional fit for you to move up. And that's when you need to then maybe take your talents elsewhere. And, there's no hard feelings, I think, is really the most important thing for everyone to remember. Is just because it's a not ever at this company doesn't mean that the next company isn't going to value the skill set that you learned at the last one. So it's important not to get down on yourself if you feel like this is just not the company that's going to promote you. It's not you. It's sometimes a personality conflict. It's sometimes that they have a different vision for the department than what's been going on. Like, that's what happened at my last long-term job, is they restructured the department after I left, so like that was there all the time. So of course it was a never, because they weren't even going to be hiring for that role, so I think it's intuition and just understanding, that it's not you. If it's a never, it's okay. It's don't let imposter syndrome take over. Like, it's going to be fine. Like, there's plenty of other people that will think that your skill set is worth that title and pay. So,
yeah. And I think that's a really good point, because we do tend to take things personally. We do tend to say, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me when those things happen? And there's nothing wrong with some good self-reflection, right? We can always learn from situations. But when we internalize somebody else's view of us that may or may not be accurate, we really do ourselves a disservice. And I love that you were very clear on, I'm not going to take this personally, and I'm not going to say, and it may not even be that they don't value your skills, but they don't value them as much as someone else will. Or they may not have the need for some of your skills as much as someone else does, or whatever. I mean, there's so many factors that get involved in these things, that if you stop and you reflect on the things that maybe are yours to own, where you can grow, but you also reflect on, hey, this is all the stuff that I've done, and yeah, they don't value it here, but somebody else is going to and believe in that. So I think trust, and I'm, for people who read my blog, this may be a repeat, but like I said, this is coming out, but this seems to be coming together. Part of it is trusting yourself and trusting that there is something else out there for you.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said. I really like what you said is they may not need this skill set. So I think that that's like something that's overlooked a lot, is that you may have this beautiful skill set that you've honed in this company for years, but when they're switching business objectives, they may not need that particular skill set anymore. And that has nothing to do with your inherent worth. Yeah. And I think that's such a beautiful sentiment. And yeah, I mean, really trusting the universe or God or whatever higher power you believe in, that like what's meant for you will not miss you, right? So there could be something better out there, just like having that trust factor in the universe. And let me tell you, the past 18 months, I've had to have that trust factor more than anyone. I've been laid off 3 times and I went through a divorce. And so I'm just like sitting here going, okay, how I'm going to view this is that the universe or God, or again, whatever higher power you believe in, is making space for really good stuff to come in, because I have been manifesting and asking for this type of role, this type of partner. And so it's really just about like, at the end of the day, like you're still breathing, you're above ground, like put your positivity out there, do the best that you can. And if it's no longer a professional fit, then move on. It's not that serious. Like that's my thing, is like, it may be sad and scary and cringy and awful. I mean, like, but it's not that serious at the end of the day. Like you will find something,
Or more likely than not, it's not fatal, right?
It's not it's not fatal. Like my favorite thing that my sister and I say back and forth, and it's from a movie or a show or something. I think it's from a movie, and I can't put my name on it. It was like, but did you die? And it's like, no, I'm still here. It was that movie in Las Vegas with the bachelors, and I can't believe can't remember the name. But
we can remember. You can bring it back up. But I want something that you said was important, that you're not gonna miss what's there for you. I'm going to challenge you on that, though, because if we're not paying attention, if we're not open to it, we do miss it. And I think one of the things which, I love that you're not doing this, right, is we sometimes put that tunnel vision on and say, okay, well, I'm with this company. I have to get this company. I have to get this promotion. I have to get this job. This is the path. And when we're so focused on this is the one way to do things, or this is the one way I'm going to move forward, sometimes we do miss those opportunities because we get so hung up on this is what I really want, and I'm not going to settle for less. And you might be settling for less by getting what you really think you really want.
So important is like the whole, like, are you settling? Does the universe or God have something even better for you? So yeah, I think, one of the things that I'm able to combat that a little bit with is like, what's meant for you is going to come with ease and peace. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be emotionally damaging, like you're not going to need therapy at the end of the day. I've literally had a job that I had to start going to therapy and I had to quit. Like it was so bad. The owner of the company was just so brutally mean to everybody. Like she would come in and just start screaming at everyone. Like it was bad. So that was not meant for me. But yeah, I think like, it's important that you said like you cannot have tunnel vision when it comes to anything in your life, especially career. Like I have a path that I envision, but I'm open to other ideas as well. So like when other opportunities come along my plate, I usually will explore those fully. And then I'll kind of know like, yes, this is for me. No, this is not for me. And then, we are also like part of life is making mistakes and taking the wrong path, and like the wrong path always eventually leads you to the right one. I fully believe that. But like sometimes life just needs to be shaken up a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm in the middle of right now. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so, well, we're in the middle of, challenges and clearly, you're in one of those times right now. Adaptability is so important. And as we open ourselves up to what can I learn from this? Where do I need to grow? And what other opportunities are there? Instead of shutting down in those circumstances, which is often what we do. We want to, crawl in our hole, right? I'm sure you have days where you just want to crawl in the hole and pull the blanket up over your head and say, "Oh my God, I can't do this anymore."
Honestly, yeah, not to interrupt what you're saying. Listen, what I've been through the past 18 months, like I very well could have been in a different mindset, right? Like I could have because I moved from LA back to Phoenix, which is home, and I was living in LA with my ex, and I very well could have just like stayed in her guest room, stayed depressed, decided to just like veg out and not do anything. But instead, I got up and I got to work, and I was like, the longer that I sit in this guest room and feel sorry for myself, the worse it's going to get, truly. And so I just decided like, I'm going to take the path of just being brave and courageous, and it's one step at a time. And what I've accomplished over the past 18 months, despite all of my challenges, is nothing short of amazing. And I don't mean to say that to be an egocentric person at all, but like, I'm constantly like, when I look back, I'm amazed at my strength and courage. And it's like, even if like that's all this 18 months is really going to teach me is strength and courage, like I consider it a blessing. It's like every day I get up, and some days are better than others. Some days I do cry, and some days I do decide to just like hermit and watch TV all day and zone out. But most days, 99% of my days, I'm like, I'm taking one more step forward. I just have to take one step today. I don't have to know what's coming next, but I do have to take aligned action toward what I want. Because if I just in my apartment and I cry about everything that I've been through the past 18 months, it might help me feel better temporarily, but like in the long run, it's not really getting me anywhere. And I take that same approach with my career as too. Like if I'm miserable in an environment, or if I'm frustrated with a project, I'm like, what step do I need to take right now to get like 10% closer to my goal? And when you take away the whole picture and you just start working in like little increments, 18 months later, you're going to look back and you're like, wow, I just did all that. Like, and I did it scared, I did it sad. I did it frustrated. You just have to do it. You just have to take the aligned action and do it.
Yeah. And I love that, taking one step at a time, because we so often don't know where the end is going to be. We so often are looking at this wall of mist at times, right? Where it's like, I know there's a path here, but I can't see it right now. And what do I need to do today? Like what flashlight do I need to get out? What, fan do I need to get out to blow away enough mist so that I can see the next step, right? What do I need to do today? And I don't have to worry about tomorrow, because I'll be able to see the next step tomorrow.
Yeah. One of the things I heard in my journey was you don't have to have anxiety about the things that are going to happen, because the person you need to be to deal with that is going to be born in that moment. And that like really, really resonated with me the last 18 months with all of the loss that I've experienced. And I was like, wow, like 3 years ago, I never could have imagined that this person would be sitting in front of you today. Like, I'm not a completely different person, because I've always kind of just been me, like quirky and weird and kind of out there. But like, I would say that I'm definitely like a stronger, braver, happier person than I was 3 years ago. But that took a lot of like trial by fire. Like,
well, and I believe that as we move along the journey and we do those things, that we're really becoming who we are, rather than we learn early on to put on personas and to put on masks and to do what we think we need to do to survive. And as we gain more wisdom in our lives, we realize that we have multiple identities. We have, we are more than we think we are, right? And that we really are just uncovering more of our strengths and our skills and our talents as we move along. And these challenges help us to do that.
Yeah, your challenges are going to be your biggest teachers in life. And that's just like the second that you become comfortable with the fact that everything is always changing and, you're always going to be leveling up. And the second that you realize that like you have to keep moving forward despite whatever's happening in your life, I think that's the real superpower. Like that's where the magic starts to happen, where you're like, okay, like this sucks. The situation's terrible and I'm sad every day, but like I'm only hurting myself by deciding to stay in this state. Like I deserve joy and happiness regardless of the fact that my marriage broke up, regardless of the fact that I've been unemployed, like I still deserve joy. Like those are not the things that make me who I am, And so I think that that's just a really important thing to remember too, is if you are in a situation where, this conversation went completely the opposite direction that I thought it was going to. If you are in a situation that you feel like you're stuck and you can't get out of and everything's awful, 10%, 1% a day, that's all it takes. Just take steps toward happiness. I had to fake joy when I first started realizing that I was like worthy of joy no matter what was going on in my life. I literally had to fabricate joy. And now I'm able to really wake up and be like, okay, like what am I grateful for today? Like what's going to bring me joy today? And I think they're called glimmers. I've seen them like around social media where it's like you think of like little things that make you happy. And I remember when I first started on my journey professionally, when I was like really frustrated, I was looking for glimmers, and I would think of this one moment where I was at Knott's Berry Farm with my little niece. I think she was about 5 at the time, and she would go on the big rides, and I didn't want to go on the big rides. So her and I just chilled the whole day in the arcade, and we had so much fun. And she like could barely play any of the games, but it was just like time I had with her, right? Yeah. Where I'm never going to get that time back. And like that is what sustained me for like this entire 18 months. It's just like that moment. Yeah.
Which is so cool. And, my cat who keeps making an appearance into the picture today is one of those glimmers in my life. So before we wrap up, I want to bring this back because I would love to pull all of this stuff, these wonderful things we've talked about together today, and ask you how all the stuff that you're learning through this period in your life is going to impact your leadership as you step into your new role?
Yeah, I love that question. I think there's so much that can tie back into that, right? So one of the things that I've learned this last 18 months is like to have the audacity, is what I like to call it, like really put myself out there, to not be afraid to email a senior leader, a C-suite. Like how many CEOs have I emailed since I started like trying to find a new career? Like I have no idea. Like I just decided that like confidence is a made up thing, and I'm just going to be confident even if I'm scared, because like no one knows that I'm scared inside, right? Like that's only me. And so it's really given me a lot of confidence in who I am and my abilities and like what I can accomplish. And I think that is going to help me have more confidence when I am talking with the C-suite, talking about strategies and data and all of that stuff. So like I can actually have that confidence going into their office too. But then that also helps me realize that like, and I have realized this all the time, but like our employees are people, and they all have their nuanced life. You never know what's going on in their life. And it's given me, I've always had a lot of empathy, but it's given me a lot more empathy and understanding, where sometimes people just need you to listen. So, at my last job, I had this amazing team of 4 amazing women. And, we would have, one of the things that I did was we would have like a 30 to 45-minute meeting every Friday with all of us, and we weren't allowed to talk about work at all. And that really is what I think has changed me a lot, is that like wanting to get to know people on a deeper level within my organization, because vulnerability and transparency leads to trust. And it also helps them trust me. So like when they would need to take a day off, like one of my employees, she texts me in the morning. She's like, I'm fine physically, but like emotionally, like I think I just need to take the day. I was like, go for it. Like, don't even log it in your PTO. Like, you worked so hard. You were working till 10 p.m. last night. Like, no one's going to tell on you. Put your out of office on, like, take the day. And she said to me that was like one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for her. She had just gotten married. And so she took all of her PTO. She didn't have any left. Like, girl, just take the day. Like, it's not that serious. It'll be here tomorrow, So I think that ultimately is going to make me like a better employee and a better leader. It's just going through all of these struggles and finding my strength and confidence, really. Like, confidence is made up. Nobody knows if it's real or not. Just be confident and do it scared. I can guarantee you the people that you think are the most confident were terrified when they started acting that way.
But I would bet, one of the things I always talk about is the difference between confidence and certainty, right? So confidence is a belief. Certainty is a knowledge, right? So they're a little bit different, but you talk about confidence and you can fake confidence to your degree. You can believe in yourself. You can believe confident, but I find that once you do it, like sort of over and over again, you move into that certainty. You move into that absolute, I know who I am and I know what I have to offer. And everything I'm hearing about what you're saying today, it just shows me that you are absolutely moving into that certainty, because you've taken the time to write down your achievements and everything that you've done and what you could bring to the table. You've taken the time to put yourself out there and learn and explore, and you're open to, possibilities and growth, as well as having that deep compassion, not only for others, but for yourself, right? Which is something we often forget, is the compassion for ourselves. So I love how you're pulling all this together in a way that you can show up with complete certainty about the contribution you can make in your next role.
That's actually, and no one's ever explained the difference to me, but I appreciate that so much, because I thought confidence was like the end goal, and it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like certainty is the end goal, and it feels very lovely to hear that I'm moving in that direction, because I didn't grow up with confidence at all. That was not my upbringing whatsoever. Like, I had to fake it till I made it. But that feels really good to hear. I appreciate you saying that.
Well, it's true. I mean, that's certainly been my experience, and that's certainly been my experience with other people, other women. Confidence is great when you believe in yourself, when you are you have that certainty, that absolute knowledge that, you have a lot to offer. It can be a game changer.
It can be a change gamer too. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
And I would agree that it is, because then you're like, when you're doing things that scared you a month ago with no fear, you're like, oh, I've mastered this skill. Like, getting out of your comfort zone and just going for it is so underrated. Like, and I'm still a work in progress, but every single day I try to just like uplift others and bring positivity, especially to LinkedIn. I think that's how we met, was just, I don't remember. It's been a while now, but yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you so much. This has been so much fun.
It has been great, Emily. So in case somebody wants a wonderful VP of marketing for their organization, or just to talk to you about other things, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can obviously connect with me on LinkedIn. The end of my little LinkedIn URL is Emily McMahon 825, or you can email me, emilymcmahon825@gmail.com. Or you can look at my website, which is EmilyNMcMahon //portfolio, if you want. But yeah, I really appreciate the time you took. I had so much fun. I would do this with you all day, every day if I could.
Well, we'll have to do it again another time, but thank you for joining us today. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Daring to Transcend podcast. I'm Karen Ann Bulluck, and you can reach me also on LinkedIn, my website, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure that you don't miss another episode with a wonderful female leader like Emily. Thanks, and join us again next week.